For this video, we're going to be discussing percent proportions. So we've already discussed how to solve proportions problems, and now we're going to be talking about how to use proportions to solve problems with percents. So percent literally means per 100. And as we've talked about in a previous unit, we can think of a percent as being a fraction out of 100. So 45% is the same thing as 45 divided by 100. 330% is the same thing as 330 divided by 100. Now we're going to use these fractions, the percent over 100, we're going to use that fraction to solve some proportions problems. So we can use these proportions to solve problems involving percents. We're always going to have 1/2 of our problem is always going to be percent over 100. Always going to be there. The other half I have this is over of. Now is over of, okay. If I asked you something that said like, what is 30% of 90? Well, I could set up a proportion to solve this. The percent always goes over 100. So 30 over 100. And then I'm going to use some keywords. It says, what is 30% of 90? Well, this of is telling me that 90 goes on the bottom. Right? Whatever goes with of goes on the bottom. And then what is cueing me in that I don't know what 30% of 90 is, so that's where my x is going to go. So I've set up my proportion here. Now I just solve it, cross multiply. 90 times 30, 2,700. 100 times x is 100x. Divide both sides by 100. And I get x equals 27. So 27 is 30% of 90. And I could always check this if I use a calculator. If I do 27 divided by 90, that gives me 0.3, which is 30%. All right? So all we do is we use some keywords in our problem to set up a proportion, and then we solve. So let's try some examples. Example 1 says, what is 25% of 40? All right, so to solve this, 25%, the percent always goes, oh, I don't need to put the percent sign there, but the percent always goes over 100. What is 20% of 40? So we know that 40 goes on the bottom. Remember, it's always is over of. We're always going to have an x in here because we're trying to solve a problem. Well, our missing number is x. So now I just need to cross multiply. X times 100, 100x. 40 times 25 is going to give me, well, 4 times 25 is 100, times 10 gives me 1,000. All right, so now I'm going to divide both sides by 100. Divide both sides by 100. I get 10 equals x. So my answer is 10 over 100, or sorry, my brain's out of it tonight. 10 over 40 equals 25 over 100. If we think about it, if we do the division on both sides, we get 10 over 40 gives me 0.25. 25 divided by 100 also gives me 0.25. All right, so all we did is set up our proportion using the information here and solve it. Let's try another example. It says 35 is what percent of 140? Well, here's our first clue. What percent? This isn't 35%. This isn't 140. So, whoops. None of those numbers can go in for my percentage. So that's where x is going to go. X is my percent on this one. It says 35 is what percent of 140? So 35 goes with is, that puts 35 up top. 140 goes with of, so that puts 140 on the bottom. So now I'm just going to cross multiply. X times 140 equals 140x. 35 times 100, 3,500. Divide both sides by 140. Divide both sides by 140. I don't know what this is off the top of my head. Let's just do the long division. 3,500 divided by 140. Doesn't go into 3, doesn't go into 35, it goes into 350. Exactly. 140 times 2 is 280, so it's going to go in 2 times. Minus 280. 0. 15 minus 8 is 70. That's 700. 140 goes into 725, or 5 times. So, minus 700. My answer is x equals 25%. So 35 is 25% of 140. All right, let's try one more example. Example 3 says 18 is 20% of what number? Well, 20%, we know our percent always goes over 100. It says 18 and is go together, so 18 goes here. And then it says of what number? We don't know what that number is yet, so that's x. All right, hardest part here is finding out where x goes. Now we just cross multiply. 20x equals 1800. Divide both sides by 20. I get x equals 90. So our answer is 90. All right. So now you should have learned how to set up a proportion to solve all of your problems involving percent. The key is simply to figure out where do the numbers go. Remember, you're always going to have something over something equals a percent over 100. So your try it problem is to solve what is 35% of 400. So you need to solve this problem tonight.